My son Roberto was born with Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, which is a terminal illness. It usually affects boys in early childhood. People with the condition will usually only live into their 20s or 30s. Legal aid helped me get the housing voucher I needed to qualify for a suitable, accessible home as his health declined. Once I moved in, I took great care of my home, and we had a nice life there, until the home was sold in 2022 to a new owner, a developer. This man had no interest in keeping me on as a tenant. He berated me for months and engaged in tactics to try and force me out, even though I continued to pay my rent on time every month. He ignored the rodent problem when I reported it and refused to make repairs when I mentioned there was black mold in the bathrooms and water damage on the ceilings throughout the home. As soon as I reported these living conditions to the Board of Health in January of 2023, then came the notices to vacate from my landlord. Every day that went by, my stress level went up. At one point, I even had 3 panic attacks. I contacted legal aid immediately, and they worked endlessly, step by step, to fight for my rights and my ability to care for my family. The first step was to talk with the Housing Authority, which gave my landlord until July of 2023 to make the repairs, and yet he did nothing. Instead, my landlord tried to get me to settle for an agreement that would allow me to stay in the home for another year. And if my son passed away during that year, I then would have 30 days to move. 30 days to mourn my son, to plan his funeral, to find a new apartment and move. My legal aid lawyers always listened to me and fought for what I was seeking, which was to stay living in the home until my son passed, with an additional 6 months after to move. When we had our day in court, she arranged for my son's pulmonologist to testify. When the pulmonologist said, if Roberto, whom is my son, is moved, he will die. You could hear a pin drop in that courtroom. The judge sent us all to recess. I waited in a side room anxiously. Soon my attorney walked in and said, Livia, he settled. For what? I asked. For exactly what you wanted, which means I can stay in my home until Roberto passes, whenever that is, and have an additional 6 months after to move. At that moment, I'll be honest, I could not contain myself. And yes, I wrapped my arms around my lawyer and I hugged her. And I could not end this without saying that I could not have one without legal aid. That is a fact. The system was stacked against my family and I faced discrimination at every turn. But with my attorney, I had faith and we prevailed. Thank you all.